Well, it's 27 years ago we first came to Australia, and just they couldn't even spell Buddhism, let alone know what Buddhism was. So imagine like going around the streets dressed like this. But you got some really good stares, but it's a great advertisement. You know, they couldn't sort of ignore you dressed like this. But it was tough at first because we didn't have any money, didn't have a place to stay, so it was very tough. But little by little, when people got to trust you, that was the most important thing, because they checked you out for the first couple of years, knew you were sort of real monks, you were practicing well, you were simple, and you were teaching good things, being kind, and those were sorts of things which inspired people to say, yeah, we want these monks to survive, so they supported us. So we managed to build up a strong community over the years.
Today is a special celebration from Ajahn Brahm's 60th birthday. Thank you to Ajahn. Beautiful heart and beautiful mind.
It's very nice to have my big brother visit me from England for the first time. It's about time you come here, big brother. After many times I visited you, and this is the first time you come to visit me. But nevertheless, I've put on a big party. It's not my birthday party, it's welcoming my big brother from UK. So welcome to this humble place. As you see, I live a very simple life. With lots of solitude and peace. But nevertheless, it's very nice to see you here on my 60th birthday. And I forgive you publicly for all those times you beat me up when I was a kid. So, what is your reflections coming to a Buddhist monastery for the first time?
My reflections are how busy it is, and how many people are here, and how well regarded you are.
See, because Buddhism is growing in the Western world, and so am I.
See that?
Very good.
Humour, that was part of my upbringing. My father came from Liverpool. If you haven't got a sense of humour in Liverpool, you don't survive. But it's also just part of who you are. It's just being normal, being human, even though you're a monk, and sometimes people think that that's this huge spiritual advanced being who you can't get close to. Humour is something which draws people together. When you laugh, everybody laughs, and that means that everybody is part of you. When I was in Hong Kong recently, after I left, one of the nuns at the temple said, "Thank you for coming. Before you came, I was not allowed to laugh." Every time I smiled, people said, "No, Buddhists aren't supposed to do that. When you came here and smiled and everyone was happy, now I can smile as well. Thank you so much." So it's a beautiful, compassionate thing to do, to make people happy. And much of humour is about a truth, about the human condition of what we are and just how stupid we are sometimes. That's why people laugh, because when we laugh, we're laughing at ourselves.
Bring over some dim sums. Please.
This is a message for everybody in Hong Kong. Bring over some good dim sums.
Being a good teacher is, again, being able to not talk down to people, but talk not above people, but talk at the same level. You can be honest, you can be upfront, you can teach from the heart, and you can bridge that gap. And the relating Buddhism to people's daily lives, and humour as well. And one of the most important things is, I found in teaching, never planning what you're going to say, but just keeping a kind, peaceful mind, and then relating to people. For example, I gave a talk a couple of nights ago about Buddhism and bananas. But when you have a banana, you usually peel it from the top. And that's a lot of suffering. Sometimes it squashes, sometimes it's hard to open. And the reason is we don't really follow the experts. Who are the experts with bananas? Monkeys. And if you watch how a monkey peels a banana, it peels it from the bottom. So when you learn how to peel it from the bottom, like the experts do, you have less suffering. And that's like a simile about people come to the experts, the monks, they learn how to meditate, they learn how to let go of suffering and pain in life. Because too much in life, it's like we peel the banana at the wrong end. And that's why you have pain and suffering. So you come and learn from the monks, you learn how to peel life at the right end, and then it doesn't get all squashy and squishy. Yeah, there's already one goal in the last few years which I've been working on, is to have equity between the genders, so that to have full ordination for nuns, and we've managed to start that off a couple of years ago. It still hasn't got full acceptance yet, but certainly if Buddhism is going to survive in our modern world, in the West and in the East, we have to make sure that there is equity, which is just basic respect. That's as it was in the time of the Buddha. Female monastics getting as much support, reaching the very heights of spiritual attainments, so there'll be hardly any difference between the nuns and the monks. Equal respect. One of the most important things is sincerity, because so many people have lost their faith in institutions, in government, in police, even teachers, and in churches as well. But, for the last 27 years we've been here, we've had an impeccable record, and that's one of the wonderful things we've been able to achieve, simply because we've been so open. And people have, again, they've tested us out, they've seen that what we say is what we do. And in this monastery, twice a year, you can go in any monk's hut and have a look how we live. Go under the mattress, if they have a mattress. A lot of us sleep on the floor, see if we've got any Playboy magazines or anything like that. There's nothing there at all. It's just, actually, as we are, you can see is that we live as we should be, like monks. This place we're standing at now, this is our monastery, and this is, we'll have about 20 monks here soon, and this is a place, this is our home. In order to make sure that we look after the lay community, we've got a big centre over in Nolamara, but we need places where people can meditate and be quiet, so we have the meditation retreat centre as well. And that's incredibly popular because we've made it comfortable for people. So meditation is not like going to the dentist, which you have to be afraid of, but you've got to do anyway, so you grit your teeth and think, I better go on meditation retreat. No, it's something you like doing, because it's comfortable. So, hope everyone has a wonderful day, and make peace, be kind, be gentle, and please smile a lot.
I have myself. There's no one in here. So that's why it's very hard to talk about myself. So I'm a monk. Wherever I go, I wear, as they say, different hats. So when I'm on stage, I'm entertainer and Dharma teacher. When I'm in my room, in my monastery, I'm just a simple monk living in a cave. When I'm helping the other monks, I'm a builder, a worker. When I'm in our city centre, I may be an administrator. So a good monk can have no role, and thereby he can fill any role. My childhood was a long time ago. So I remember my mother and father were quite poor. Actually, they were very poor, especially by the standards around the New Britain. But of course, we never realised we were so poor. We just grew up as ordinary people, thinking everybody else was like that. And it was only later on when I started doing really well at school, with scholarships all the way, from a very ordinary school in a very poor suburb of London to a very good school, a high school, old scholarships. And it was then I realised that just how poor my family were. Because certainly the poorest kid in the whole class. Everybody else were middle class kids. Their parents were business people or doctors or lawyers. But of course my father was mostly out of work because of his ill health. But even though materially we were quite poor, a very warm, loving, supportive family. So materially we were poor, but emotionally we had a very rich life. And I remember just the examples of my mother and father were very supportive and not domineering or controlling. My father was an atheist. When I asked him about that, he said that he could not believe in God because of what he saw with his own eyes during the Second World War. He grew up in Liverpool and saw many of his friends killed, and those who weren't killed come back from that war with wounds and damaged limbs. He saw so much suffering, the like of which we don't really see these days. He could not believe in a caring God anymore. But nevertheless, he was a very caring man, a very good man, and he was an inspiration to myself and my brother. My mother was a very simple woman as well, but again, very good, very moral, and gave us a very good education. And one memory of my father, which I think I've shared for many years, when I started to do very well at school, when I was about 14 or 15, just before my O-level exams in England, my teacher saw that I had great potential, and he told my father at one parents' evening that I would probably go to Cambridge. And my father got very angry at the teacher, and apparently they almost had a fight with fists with my teacher. And my teacher told me about that the next day, and the only reason was he thought that his son going to such a very high college like Cambridge would separate his son from him. I'd be entering another world, and that would create distance between a father and his son. That was his fear. Of course, such a thing would never happen, and unfortunately he died before I got to Cambridge. He would have been very proud. Recently, you may know that I went to my mother's funeral in London, and together with my brother we were reminiscing about our early life with our parents. And as one memory comes up, many others pour into the mind as well. But that memory about that little teaching from my father, I know that so clearly because it was one of those memories which have always stayed with me, because it was so important. And it happened when my father, he was working in a garage, just serving petrol. It was a very poor job, but that's all he could do. And it was not that far from my high school, so I would walk from the high school to where my father's garage was, wait till about 4:30, 5 o'clock when he finished work, and he would drive me home. Often he'd give me ice cream on the way back, but on that particular occasion, he parked his car deliberately off Churchfield Road in Acton, and he turned off the car engine and turned to me. I was in the passenger seat, he was the driver, there's only two of us in that car. I must have been about 14 or maybe 13 at the time. He turned around to me and said without any provocation or any introduction, "Son, wherever you go, whatever you do, however you turn out in your life, I want you to always remember one thing. This is important. Please remember, the door of my house will always be open to you. Okay, no matter what happens to you or how you turn out. Now I'm your father. Wherever I live, you're always welcome." And as I explained in my book, I knew that was important so much that I can remember it to this day. But I never understood it fully. And it was only years later when I became a monk and had the time and the encouragement to contemplate these things. Unfortunately, our modern life is so busy we don't have time to stand back and reflect on what's happened in our lives. For reflecting on that important experience, I realized that what my father really meant was not the door of his house, but the door of his heart. As I mentioned to you earlier, that my father was very poor, so he lived in government-assisted housing, an apartment for poor people of the migrant. So when his house was opening the door to, I realized it's opening the door of his heart. He was giving me unconditional love. And although I did not understand it at the time, at least I knew this was really important. When I did understand it, it gave me great direction for my life. To be able to say to others, even the people who cheat you or hurt you, no matter what you do, how you turn out, the door of my own heart will always be open to you. And lastly, I figured out you have to say that to yourself as well. Whoever you are, with all your faults, whoever you are, to say to yourself, the door of my own heart is open to me. Come in. Be at peace with yourself. The main thing is whatever's happened, doesn't matter good or bad. Just like my father would love me no matter what I did. He told me that you can love yourself, no matter all the silly, stupid, even cruel things you may have done in your life. Even as a student at university, I would wear flip-flop sandals, not shoes, even though it was snowing. People thought I was crazy, but in those days you were allowed to be a little eccentric as a student. I was never that interested in money or possessions. And so a lot of my friends told me many years later they could see the makings of a monk even when I was a student. And looking back upon it, there's many of the ways which I would relate to life which were very monkish. I wasn't a monk, I had girlfriends. I remember the most serious relationship which I had, which came very close to marriage. When that didn't work out, I thought to myself, oh well, that's just life, this too will pass. And there was never any tears or any sadness, which quite surprised me. Because everybody else, when they broke up with their girlfriends that they'd been going out for such a long time, always got devastated. And I just carried on as if nothing had happened. There's much in my life which I show I could let go of things so easily. And when I came to become a monk, I went to the Thai temple in London, first of all, because that was the closest Buddhist temple to where I lived. And I asked the monks in that temple that I wanted to ordain as a bhikkhu, and they suggested to go to Thailand. I was looking for a monastery to go to, and there was one man who had just come back from the forest monasteries. And I asked him, and he never gave me any information about Ajahn Chah. When I told him, when I saw him many years later at Ajahn Chah's monastery, I said, why didn't you ever tell me about Ajahn Chah? And his remark was, I thought you were too happy. You were serious about being a monk. Because most of the people who became monks in those days did so because they were suffering so much in life. But for me, it was because I saw the beauty of the Dhamma. I wasn't escaping from suffering as much as inclining towards deeper and greater happiness. So when eventually I saw Ajahn Chah in the forest tradition, it reminded me of what I'd read about in the sutras in the Vinaya. This was like you read in the time of the Buddha, monks living simply in the forest. They're just going on alms round every morning, having hardly any possessions, and spending most of their time meditating in solitude. And that's what inspired me. It was like the forest tradition in those days, it's not the same now, unfortunately. The forest tradition now has become rich. In those days, it was so poor. It was very much like you'd expect from the time of the Buddha. I remember I'd just come from a great university, and Ajahn had only had 4 years of schooling. But it soon became very apparent to me that he was far more smart and wise than I was. And that was a great shock, because like many other people, he had great faith in a Western system of education, where if you read enough books, if you study and train the analytic mind, then you'll be able to solve the problems in life. But then I realized that people hadn't solved the problems. One of the experiences of going to a great university like Cambridge, which had access to some of the most decorated minds in the whole world. You could have dinner with Nobel laureates and sit next to them and talk to them about things. That was the great beauty of the college systems in Cambridge and Oxford. Students